Wonders vs Kaiju was last year's big project. It pretty much started off as a drawing of the character Amanda attacking the Ferris Lighthouse in Alexandria, and from there a story started to spark, and I decided to draw more pictures of the other 5 wonders being destroyed by Kaiju, and soon a brand new series would be on the horizon. Despite being a fan of movie monsters, prehistoric animals and mythical creatures, I have also had a fascination with ancient cultures as well, especially the 7 wonders. In fact, I always found it fascinating that these monuments didn't make it to the present, with the exception of the Great Pyramid of Giza, to which I actually did visit many years ago, all the way back in mid-2005, and a few years ago I was in Rhodes itself in late 2018. But the other locations I haven't been to in real life, only the character Harrison Jones, who I made up. And yes, he is meant to be a reference to Indiana Jones and the actor who played the character, Harrison Ford. The series was actually meant to be set in the present, but while drawing what was supposed to be the final image of the show, which was of Godzilla incinerating the statue of Zeus, I thought why not set it in the future. As Harrison Jones finishes off his journal, Cairo is under attack by King Ghidorah, and both him and Godzilla have their battle on the Giza Plateau, where the Great Pyramid and Sphinx both get destroyed. For the incarnation of Godzilla that I wanted to use for the series, it was surprisingly, believe it or not, actually not so easy to decide on which version of the Kaiju I had in mind. It was originally going to be the 68 to 72 model, to which you all saw in the teaser, well, the Mezco figure of him at least. I'll get back onto that one later. Till I dropped him, and for a while it looked like Shodai Goji was going to take the spotlight. But in the end I decided that the 64 incarnation, better known as Musa Goji, would be more ideal, and thus I had pictured him in mind. Despite that Gojira himself now and then appeared in some of those pictures, but they were just to demonstrate certain angles. And for the record, it was Musa Goji who rampaged Olympia. I know that some of you may have been disappointed that Mothra wasn't included into the series, and that's simply because I didn't know where to put her. I could have had her fly into Olympia in an attempt to protect the statue of Zeus from the King of the Monsters, but I felt that if she saved the statue, and maybe the other wonders from the other Kaiju attacks, as she is after all a protector and not a destroyer, unless her twin fairies have been taken hostage. And also, if she'd been there, then all those ancient destructions would have been prevented. I placed Godzilla in the finale because not only was I saving him till last, but I thought that him destroying the statue of Zeus would be a reference/homage to the IDW comic book series, Godzilla Rampage Across Time, Issue 2, where, spoilers to all those who haven't read it yet, Godzilla attacks Mount Olympus and exterminates all the gods, except for Zeus. Dangerville did a video on that chapter, links in the description below. I chose to upload the final entry on the 3rd November, because not only is it Godzilla Day, if you're a kaiju enthusiast like myself, but it was also the release date for Godzilla -1 over in Japan, before other countries got their releases. I did a thoughts and opinions video on the at the time upcoming movie when the teaser was launched. Links to that video is in the description below, if you wish to check it out. As for the other wonders and their respective monsters, well, for the most part it was easy picks, but I had different ideas for 2 entries. For example, the Hanan gods of Babylon were meant to be attacked by Rodan only, and there was also going to be a completely different plot altogether as well. Originally he was going to start off as a mysterious egg that was discovered in the mountains, to which it would have been removed and then taken to the palace, where it would eventually hatch. But this would soon, however, turn out to be a massive mistake, because eventually the mother Rodan would return to seek out her egg, to which during the rampage she would eventually find her offspring and would have destroyed the palace and also the surroundings as revenge to all those peasants who had foolishly taken her yet to hatch child. And this would of course lead to the destruction of the Hanan gods of Babylon. I rejected/scrapped this idea because I felt that it sounded rather weak when compared to the other entries, so I rewrote the story. After drawing Rodan destroying the gardens, I thought that the 4th entry should actually stand out from the other entries, so I decided to include another kaiju, and there was no challenge, as I knew who I wanted to use. And that's how Gigan entered the series. I just couldn't resist throwing in my favourite character into the show, and thus the Tamashii Nation's SH Monsterons figure of him had only just been announced at the time that the script was written, so this was pretty much my way of celebrating. However, I had unfortunately forgotten about the Israelites weeping by the rivers of Babylon. when they remembered Sion. Had I remembered that line, then I would have quoted, "The Babylons may have captured the Israelites, but after the Hannah Gardens incident, with Rodan and Gigan battling to the death, the Babylons were the ones who wept by their rivers." It also took a while for me to think on who should wipe out the mausoleum at Halicarnassus as well. It was between Baragon and Gorosaurus, but since the mausoleum in reality was destroyed by constant earthquakes, I felt that it would make sense and be suitable if the subterranean dinosaur Baragon was responsible. However, originally it was actually meant to be the GMK Baragon, as you can see in this early drawing, but I changed my mind and went for the show incarnation instead because I felt that version of the character was a lot more destructive when GMK's was a guardian. In fact, many of the monsters that I chose to be in the series were of Showa variety, with the exception of Rodan, as I used the Heisei model, but the Showa design did at one point get a shout out, and thus I may have said this in the past before, but I'll say it again here. I am a massive fan of the Showa period, as well as the Heisei, Millennium, Monsterverse and Reiwa series. Despite the show being all audio, it was actually meant to have some scenes of animation, to which I would use some of the larger figures, but these would have been used for close-ups only. However, I scrapped this idea because I felt that it wouldn't really be necessary, and thus I think audio accompanied by pictures was a bad choice. If I had the space, equipment and talent, then I would build models of the Seven Wonders and have my Kaiju figures from Bandai and NECA come in and destroy them, but I'm unfortunately not that gifted. However, if anybody would like to adapt the series into an animation themselves, whether it's through figures or computer-generated models, then by all means go ahead. All I ask is that if I receive some credit. I'm not the first person to come up with the idea of Kaiju destroying the Six Wonders, as this small kid depicts Godzilla attacking the Pharaoh's Lighthouse. So other folks have had this idea before, and I had fun bringing the concept to life. And because I do like Kaiju castings, here's the cast of Wonders vs Kaiju. Notice I used the Final Wars Rodan in Fire Rodan's place. Well, that's because there's no decent looking high-grade / Gashapon figure for Heisei Rodan, well, at least at the time of making this video. My favourite entries have got to be entries 3, 4 and 6, because not only do they feature my top favourite Kaiju, even though Manda, Baragon and Anguirus are also top dogs as well, but the wonders such as the Colossus of Rhodes, Hanging Gardens of Babylon and Statue of Zeus I find the most interesting. I've provided links to some videos by See You in History to those who wish to know the real history of the Seven Wonders, as well as some links to the Kaiju profiles on each monster who appeared in the series. It's a real shame that the ancients didn't build enough structures that could also be considered wonders, because there were so many monsters that I wanted to feature in the show. However, those who did make an appearance, or got a shout out, you could say had cameos, but at least I chose the favourites, which is more important. Before landing on Varan, two other Kaiju also considered to be the destroyers for the Colossus of Rhodes, those being Titanosaurus and the Maguma. However, both were rejected because one, Titanosaurus wasn't a destructive monster in the beginning of his debut movie, 1975's Terror of Mechagodzilla, but rather a victim forced to do terrible things against his will. And as for Maguma, well, he was more of an animal who wanted humans out of his territory / environment so that he can have his peace and quiet. And thus, with all that blubber, I think that he would have been uncomfortable and would have suffocated in the warm Mediterranean Sea, and Varan was the perfect choice. I hope that you all enjoyed the series as much as I enjoyed making it. And which of these lost wonders do you think is the most fascinating? I've long been interested in both the Colossus of Rhodes and Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and I think Varan, Rodan and Gigan were excellent choices, as they too are top favourites to me, as I said earlier. But let's have a discussion in the comments below. This is Dragonzilla 1991 signing out. Take care, hope you're all having a happy Christmas, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now, Merry Christmas.